Shaitanir Rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I greet you, my brothers and sisters, with the noble and universal greeting of peace, the greeting that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal creator, Almighty Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very pleased to be alive, to be well, and to be more and more spiritually well. Our well-being begins with our spiritual well-being, the state that our heart is in. And I've been for decades on the path of purifying my heart. I've been interested in my spiritual well-being. I've been interested in peace, the actual experience of peace. The peace that comes from remembering Allah, the assurance that comes from remembering Allah. The Quran says Allah, He fills the heart of the believer with tranquility, more and more tranquility, as He increases the believer in faith. So I want to speak to you about drawing closer to our Creator, because this is what the Quran tells us, the Hadith Qudsi tells us, the Prophet told us. Allah tells us in the Quran Himself, that it is about remembering Allah. It's about prostrating and drawing closer. For every step you take towards Allah, Allah takes 10. If you remember Allah, yours will be a blessed life. If you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a depressed life. If you're thankful to Allah, you'll get more. So this remembering Allah suggests that we have forgotten. This drawing closer to Allah suggests that we are distant. You see? And so that's what happened when Adam and Eve refused the guidance of the Creator, when He said, do not eat of that tree, the fruit of that tree, do not eat. Allah created Adam and Eve, the first human beings, and favored them. It was asked of all in the heavens to bow before the Prophet Adam in adoration of the creation of Allah. So human beings were created, favored creation, blessed and benefited creation. That's what it says in the Quran. Islamic teaching tells us we are the most noble, the finest of creation. Given the best of molds, highest life form status, given preference over other creation. On earth, I can't see, I don't know any other creation on earth that is more blessed than us, with the highest life form on earth. So Allah, in His infinite mercy and compassion and love and kindness, created humanity, favored, and He favored humanity. Humanity, Adam and Eve, they weren't really wanting to receive that guidance, that favor, and they had an experience with Satan. And they fell into a state of insecurity as they became distant. They fell from heaven, They fell from that level of awareness, and that's when the separation, the feeling of separation, the forgetfulness, this kind of fall in awareness, occurred. And that's where human beings have been in a state of being distant from the Creator. So when it is said in Islamic teaching, Hadith Qudsi, if you take one step towards Allah, He takes 10 towards you. This is not a step in terms of meters. It's an allegory, it's a metaphor, because Allah is not somewhere and you are here and you have to draw closer to Allah in time and space. Allah is located somewhere in time and space, and you have to get there. The idea is that you as a physical being and Allah is a being, and you have to get closer to Allah. Both of you come together, until you're very close. This is not so. For Allah is beyond form, the creator of form. Allah has created human beings to experience being in time and space. Allah is the creator of time and space. Allah is not within time and space. Allah is unique and beyond the creation, the creator of the creation. So to draw closer to Allah is not like how you might get closer to somebody in terms of, where are you? I'm coming there, I'll see you there shortly. You take a bus or a car or a train or a plane or an Uber, to get closer to somebody and be with them. No. This experience of separation, of forgetfulness. If you forget Allah, yours will be a depressed life. If you remember Allah, He remembers you. You know what I mean? So this is, to get closer to Allah is really about becoming more and more aware of Allah and remembering Allah. And those who receive the guidance, they will no longer be insecure. The Quran says they will no longer fear, they will no longer grieve. So, when human beings are far away from Allah, doesn't mean they're far away in time and space, like it's going to take us time to get there, where Allah is located and where we are located, and there's a distance between us. You get what I mean? It's not a physical distance. It's not a fourth density. It's not a fourth dimensional, like 3 dimensions of time, 3 dimensions of space in the dimension of time. It's awareness. The Quran tells us Allah is closer to us than our own jugular veins. Allah is closer to us than our own jugular veins. The Quran says, when the believers ask concerning me, say that I am near. Allah is immediately available. You get what I mean? So Allah is closer to us in our own jugular veins. He is near, meaning like immediately available. There's no time and distance between us and Allah. Those of us who are really understanders of Tawheed and we are aware of Allah and His wonderful nature to the degree that He allows us to be aware, we understand these things. Right? Those who are clueless and don't know, and they don't know, they'll tell you things like Allah is located somewhere, like He's got dimensions. They don't understand. They haven't, been interested in knowledge. The Quran, the Prophet, they encourage us learning and getting knowledge. A lot of the people who have religious education, are more into schooling, religious schooling. They have ideas, sometimes very entertaining ideas that they think are, is true. They have beliefs, these entertaining ideas, these very interesting stories that they have about Allah. It's coming from their mind. People have ideas about God, that God doesn't exist, that comes from the phantom mind, that comes from the ignorance, arrogance and superstition. There are people who have ideas about Allah, that that there's somebody or something in the world that can look after them, that's their God, or money is God, or they have gods other than God, a man is God, or something is God. They turn to the created, or they make up some imaginary fantasy ideas of God, and then they are the hypocrites. So you have the kuffar, the deniers. I will not deny Allah. Anybody who is aware of truth will not deny Allah. He will not deny His favor upon us. And there are people, I used to be a denier, because I didn't know, was lost, not guided. Now I'm guided. And I was a associate, I thought somebody I must turn to. Instead of A'udhu Billah, I was A'udhu, Maulana. I claimed refuge in people. Tell me, turning to other people. Guide me. Instead of turning to Allah. I didn't know, I was misguided, right? Following the gurus and the pundits instead of turning to Allah. I was associating partners. I wasn't trusting in Allah. And then there's the hypocrites, The hypocrites, they say they believe in Allah in the last day, they act all holy-moly, they're all religious, but in their hearts, there's disease, and that disease is expanded, the Quran says, and in their hearts, they lack the smallest of kindnesses. They are not kind. They're not humane. They're in the human, but they're not being. They're not a human being. They're a human believing, human belief system, human BS. Human ideas of God. So they might say, I read my salah, but they have no clue of Allah consciousness. They don't know the first thing about A'udhu Billah. I claim refuge with Allah from Satan, the accursed. They are with Satan and worshipping Satan, and they're doing all the kind of religious fanfare that the gurus and pundits are telling them to do. They are more into religious indoctrination, schooling, and religious rituals. I'm not saying there's no place for religious schooling and religious rituals. I'm just saying that we are here to remember Allah. We are here to practice Tawheed. We are here, to experience ourselves as believers. We're here for faith to enter into our hearts. So some people, they say they are believers because they think they are Muslims, They think, I don't eat haram, I only eat halal food, But they don't know about tayyib food, and they're not following the Quran, They got the ideas of Islam. I call it Islamism. It's not real Islam. It's Islamism. Hypocrites. This is not a judgment. It's just that they're self-deceivers. Hypocrites are people who deceive themselves, thinking they deceive Allah. But they don't deceive Allah. They only deceive themselves, but they perceive it not. They are people who are unaware of Allah, and their hearts are still very much diseased, and that disease is expanded. They are not close to Allah, and they don't draw closer to Allah, but they might appear to be very religious. They might act and speak and be holy-moly, but there's no peace, there's no salam, there's no sabr, there's no patient perseverance, there's no inclination, there's no iman in their hearts. The Quran says, don't say that you believe, for faith has not entered into your hearts. Understand? So there's no faith in their hearts, but they say they are believers. They believe they are believers. There's no faith in their hearts. They're not conducting themselves honorable living, following the example of the Prophet. They might just say, we're following the Sunnah, and cowardly put a beard on their face, thinking that's the sum total of the Sunnah. You know what I mean? Instead of really having the conduct of an honorable human being, respecting their Creator, respecting themselves, their bodies, their lives, revering Allah, and rejoicing Allah's favors. The Quran says, let them in the mercy of Allah rejoice. Let them in the mercy of Allah rejoice. It is better than their usual preoccupations. Usually you're thinking, let me get happy when this changes, and when that changes, I'll get happy. You're not aware of Allah, and you're not rejoicing in His mercy. The hypocrites, you know what I mean? They're not bad or wrong. None of these people are bad or wrong. Just misguided, worshipping Satan, remaining in a state of diseased heart. You get what I mean? Insecure. Guidance hasn't come to them. If guidance come to them, they've turned their back. They haven't chosen to submit. They haven't chosen to humble themselves. They're against themselves. They're against others. Satan is who they follow, worship, actually, the Quran says. So we all are in this forgotten of Allah state, this state of insecurity, until guidance comes to us. And for those who receive the guidance and they incline to truth, they are willing to humble themselves. They're willing to recognize that Allah is there for us and for others, and that we have Allah taking care of us and taking care of everything for us. that Allah did nothing bad to us, and Allah will never do anything bad to us or anybody. Those of us who are choosing to become Allah conscious, actually Allah conscious, I'm not talking about worshipping religion, you understand? The Quran says among all people, they are believers. Before Islam, before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they were believers. They are believers. In Islam, outside of Islam, they are believers. Those who humble themselves, those who are more than just the human, they are humane. They are humane beings. In their hearts, they are bringing to Allah a purified heart. They're cleansing their hearts. They are correcting, their Satan worshipping. They're worshipping Allah. They are people. I don't know who they are, where they are. The Quran tells us. I only know that I'm one of them that have committed to drawing closer to Allah, to bring to Allah a purified heart. I've committed, and I maintain that commitment. Every morning when I get up, I realize that this is a day for me to draw closer to my Creator, and I value that opportunity that I have. Every morning when I get up, I realize that this is a day that I can use for a benefit that is beyond the benefit of this world. For as I remember Allah and remember Allah abundantly, the Quran says, not only will I experience security, but I will progress and prosper, experience great joy. You understand? So when I begin the day, and as I go through the day, and at night before I go to bed, I have used the day to draw closer to Allah. And in doing that, it purifies my heart. My heart is being purified, because I know that to some degree or another, my mind is distorted. I can't trust my ideas, very interesting ideas that I have, and entertaining stories that we have about God, about ourselves, about our lives, about where we are, what's going on here, why we are here, what's the purpose of life. There's the truth about all this, but there's satanic ideas. There's these stories, you understand, that we have. So I have this opportunity when I get up in the morning, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. And I know if I use that opportunity, I spend the day, it's well spent to draw closer to my Creator. If I don't draw closer to my Creator this day, I know I've made a big mistake, and I've wasted the opportunity. You can do a lot of things in the day. You can focus on your money, but the Quran says neither will your wealth. And you can focus on your families and your children, and the Quran says neither will your families and children, neither will your wealth nor your children avail you, except those who bring to Allah a purified heart. So when I get up in the morning, I'm aware of the wonderful opportunity that I have to purify my heart. And I set out to do that. That is my intention. I claim the refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed. I know that my mind has got ideas, very entertaining ideas, and very interesting stories, And I know these ideas are not truth, and these stories are not really true, and they caused a diseased state in my heart. I have stories about me, about God, about others. That's not the truth. That close my heart to God, that close my heart to me, that close my heart to my body, my life, that close my heart to others, that close my heart to receiving from others, I know that all human beings have fallen. All human beings are not aware. We are to remember. We are to draw closer to Allah. Not just prostrate, but draw closer to Allah. The Quran tells us that for every step we take, Allah takes 10. That we are to move closer. I know that. Guidance has come to me. I can remain the same man with my stories and my ideas, with my fixed mentality and rigid personality. I can continue that way. And the disease in my heart will not only remain there, but it will expand. You get what I mean? I can live my life feeling threatened, vulnerable, insecure. I can live my life with a heart that is impure, that Satan can easily, attach to. I can live unconsciously. And that's when Satan gets you. For those who are not aware of Allah and not devout in the worship of Allah, Satan has authority, the Quran tells us. For those who are not devout, for those who are not aware, for those who are not connecting with Allah, Satan has authority over them. But over those who are devout in the worship of Allah, for those who are Allah conscious, for those who want to really be aware, for those who want to wake up from the trance of everyday living where you live lost, insecure, and your heart is diseased and your heart becomes more and more diseased, for those of us who want to wake up and support awakening, for those of us who become really Allah aware and experience Allah consciousness, Satan can't put his, hooks into us as much as he could when we were unconscious. It is when you are living unconscious, unaware of Allah, when you're living subconsciously, when you're living cluelessly, when you get up in the morning and you think you really are, you don't know you're a created being in a created world. When you get up in the morning and you go through the day thinking this world is real, you're going to be here forever, you were always here forever. When you go through this day without reading the Quran with intent to gain that value, the Quran says it is a book to heal the diseases in our hearts. So some people get up in the morning, their minds they're unconscious, they're living subconsciously, they're unaware of Allah, they've been schooled very well in religion, and they might do all their religious things. They'll read this and read that and do this and do that and go up and down and kiss the ground and turn around, and they'll do everything but become aware of Allah. You understand? So what happens is that diseased heart remains there, and that diseased heart is expanded. Now fortunately for me, my diseased heart expanded until I hit rock bottom, and then I realized something is not right with this picture. When I ended up feeling really helpless and hopeless, I wasn't like, oh Allah, please help me get out of this problem. I was, Allah, help me see how I'm creating this problem. You know what I mean? And that's when everything changed. That I realized when you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a depressed life. When you fail to remember, yours will be... I realized I was living a spiritually unexpressed life. I was spiritually repressed. I was spiritually suppressed. That's where we live. I explained this in last month's lecture more, firmly. That there are people who are not for their spiritual selves. They're not for their spiritual development. They're not for their believing selves. They are not for experiencing security. They're not for feeling good that comes from remembering Allah and the truth. And so when you fail to remember Allah, your life is going to be a depressed life, because you're maintaining insecurity. You're maintaining all your interesting, entertaining stories about God. You must listen to people and their stories about God, right? People who are unaware of Allah. So there's a universal experience that any human being can have when they become aware of Allah. The Quran says, call upon Allah by any of His beautiful names. Call Him compassionate. You understand? So somebody might not use the word Allah, but they are aware of the wonderful nature of Allah, because they're exiting their mind and their stories, all the satanic ideas and stories, the interesting stories, the entertaining ideas, that they have, that they're still unaware. They're not aware until you become God aware. And until you become more and more God aware, you are living unconsciously. You are living subconsciously. Your behaviors towards God are going to be something that you are going to regret later. Your behaviors towards you're going to regret perhaps in this world through your death and beyond. Your behaviors towards your body, you're going to regret it. Basically, you are going to regret that you didn't remember Allah and respond to Him. You didn't recognize Allah and you didn't submit to Him, and you didn't experience security with Him, and you didn't recognize His benefiting of you, His blessing of you. You didn't recognize that you could invoke Him. You could be thankful to Him, He'll give you more. You didn't realize that there are spiritual practices you can practice every day that will benefit you. Like, worshipping Allah, submission, exclusive attention is for Allah alone. Where you realize there is only Allah, and you are a created being, where you humble yourself before you're created. A lot of people have diseased hearts. Their hearts are diseased. They say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't. They lie to they think they're lying to Allah and the believers, but they only lie to themselves. They don't lie to Allah. In their hearts is a disease. The same disease that everybody else has. That there's one universal solution is for us all to humble ourselves before God. No. The people don't want to humble themselves before God. They've forgotten God. If you remember Allah, you'll humble yourself before Allah. That's what I do every day. I know what that is. I don't think anybody learns in madrasa, not the madrasas that I know of, and the people that I have seen that have come out from those madrasas, they haven't taught me to humble. I don't see them as being humble. They are so arrogant in their schooling. They say, my teachers have taught me and my teachers are right. They champion the schooling of their teachers. They don't champion the teaching of the Quran. It's arrogance. I'm not blaming them or judging them. I'm just telling you, there's no humility there. We don't turn to our teachers, we turn to Allah. Allah alone is. Human beings are created. Human beings are apparent. Allah is the alone actual. Anyway, people who are not aware of Allah has got nothing to do with me, right? I am very grateful that the Quran has guided us to Allah awareness, and Allah supports us in becoming Allah aware. And if you're a person who's really interested in claiming the believer's refuge, if you're really interested in A'udhu, if you really say, Allah, you are my refuge, I require a refuge, then you will experience that peace, that assurance that Allah is with me and for me, is interested in me, attentive to me. I don't have to live in fear that He's going to hurt me or harm me. I can release the judgment against myself and everybody else. I can, instead of being against myself, I can realize that Allah is for me. And Allah is for all human beings. But human beings are not interested in that, right? They're in a trance. They're in that unconscious, subconscious living, that they get up the same every morning. They live the lives the same every morning, every day, through the day. They don't become human beings. I'm not criticizing, and I'm not saying that you should be different. You can live how you want to. But you are here to listen to what I'm telling you, and I'm happy to share with you. The Quran says keep reminding, for reminding benefits the believers. I mean, I remind myself every day. The Quran reminds us as we read it every day with understanding of what our mission is here, what our priority is here. That this world is temporary. And this world was created to see who will remember Allah, who will incline to truth, and who will live worshipping Satan, who's going to continue in a trance with Satan and a diseased heart. Now, it's not me, right? It's not me. You know what I mean? So, like somebody was telling me yesterday that this person, you know, she's got like so much, I don't know how many millions to invest, and she makes, you know, over how many millions a year. And I was like thinking, I'm a Godzillionaire. Woo! You know what I mean? I'm not saying that she's not a believer, but I'm thinking like, you know, the value that I have with Allah, no amount of money can be. You know what I mean? If I had all the money in the world, but if I wasn't guided by Allah, where would I be? I'm not saying don't have all the money in the world. You can have all the money in the world, but understand that the value of Allah's guidance, you know, to be able to value, you know, Allah. Now I value Allah more than I value anything or anybody in creation or anything in the created world. Now, different people value different things, right? It just so happens I value faith. I value Iman the most in my life. I value drawing closer to my Creator. And the Quran says this is what a winner is all about. You know, now I'm not saying to you I'm this best believer. I'm just doing my best as a believer. I'm not a best believer. I'm doing my best as a believer. I know my head is screwed on right. I'm in a direction of cleansing my heart. This is my priority. I can get up in the morning and say how many millions I'm going to make this year. Or I can get up in the morning and say that after, you know, I say, like, what is my priority? To draw closer to Allah. Because you can live your life and make all the millions you want, or you can live your life and be a beggar. Makes no difference if you have not really chosen to receive the message of the Quran. That Allah awareness, the more you become Allah aware, the more you are saved from Satan's grips. The less you are aware of Allah, the more you're going to continue like how you continued. And what's going to happen with that diseased heart as the years go by? Sickness. The diseased heart compromises your immune system. It compromises your body's immune system. It compromises the immune system of your life. you start attracting viruses, germs, you start attracting bad things. Yours going to be a depressed life, right? You're going to start attracting all crazy people and all that sort of thing. You'll have a low quality of being, especially because not only are you not interested in the security, the good feeling, the faith, the well-being, the spiritual joy, the unconditional good feeling of having Allah and feeling good, I have Allah, that we have Allah. If you're not interested in that good feeling within you that's got nothing to do with this world, that's peace consciousness. The peace consciousness protects you. It's like Iman and Yaqeen, lead to taqwa. It's a shield. You have your shield of faith. No matter what's happening in the world, you got your spiritual shield, taqwa. That's why I fast. Not only in the month of Ramadan, I fast. Because it expands me in taqwa. Not just in the month of Ramadan, let's starve for the morning and feast in the evening, let's fast and feast. No. This is all about Allah consciousness. This is about becoming more aware. And the more aware you become, the less unaware you continue to be. The more aware you become, the more you experience peace. The less Satan can get you. Now, most people don't do this, right? Most people don't do this. But some of us do. I know I speak for myself. And so we become more and more aware every day, more and more conscious every day, more and more closer to Allah every day. Less and less do we live the depriving life. We're not self-suppressing, self-repressing. We don't oppress other people. We're not oppressing ourselves and oppressing other people. We're not living as anti-support. You feel good. We're optimists, right? We know that Allah is with us and for us. He's interested in us, attentive to us. We know that Allah is merciful and kind. We're optimists. We are living with that, everything, we're moving forward with that trust in Allah. That Allah is here, everything is good, He's for us. We can learn, grow and develop. We can apply ourselves. We can develop ourselves to function with more amal, as more honorable human beings, as I live, expanding myself in faith. I want to be a better human being, you see. I don't want to be the same human being that I was yesterday, faithless, just doing my rituals and all that sort of thing. You can't do that if you want to. People do that every day. They got all the interesting stories about Islam and Allah and all that. But they're not really aware. When a human being is aware of Allah, it's a universal experience. It's not an experience that only those who went to madrasa, will have. Only those who went to madrasa will be believers. The Quran says among all people are believers. You understand? Those who humble themselves before their Creator every day. Those who realize, before I focus on me, this world, other people, I focus on Allah. And I'm His creation and His care. You get what I mean? So some of us, when we get up in the morning, we realize our true identity. Who are we really? What are we really? Where are we really? What's going on here really? See? Not what our stories of what's going on here. What's our ideas? Who is Allah really? What is Allah really? What is Allah's plan for us? What is Allah's, what's going on here? What is Allah's mercy for us? What exactly is it? Now most people with this religious schooling, they'll just live their lives, their heart is diseased, the same person they were yesterday, they'll get up and they'll be focused on this world. They won't be focused as a believer is focused on Allah. Without giving focus to the creation, we realize there's no Allah and the creation. There's only Allah who has created. Allah the actual. And the creation is apparent. We focus beyond this world. So those who worship Satan, the people who are not into A'uzu, or people who just say A'uzu and they have no clue what they're saying, they're really unconscious, they're blind following in religion. These are people who are unaware that they're unaware, and they think they're aware. Scariest place to be, right? You think you know when you don't know. Listen to the previous episodes in the series over this last 6 months or so, and you'll get more, from where the foundation of this particular series has come. This particular talk today, that there are people who are clueless about the cluelessness. And that heart is diseased, right? They're not drawing closer to Allah. That diseased heart is going to compromise their mind, compromise their body, compromise their soul, it's going to compromise their relationships. And you're going to see them, with that diseased life, they're going to see them with that depressed life. When you fail to remember Allah, you don't feel secure. You don't experience that well-being of knowing what you are, where you are, who you are. You're really uninformed. You are clueless. You are living as deniers, associators, and hypocrites. The day will come and the day will go, and you will miss out on the opportunity to submit the phantom self. You will miss out on the opportunity to humble yourself. You will miss out on the opportunity to humble yourself even more. You will miss out on the opportunity of true awareness. So the Quran says, look and see. Look and see the countenance of Allah everywhere. Look and see the power of Allah. The Quran says the heavens and the earth were created that we may recognize the power of Allah. Who's looking and seeing the power of Allah? Who's looking? Not the deniers, not the associators, not the hypocrites. The believer is choosing to become more aware. The person who says they believe but they don't believe, they just self-deception. They're not becoming aware. And you can see they're still very much in the trance. Now, they're not wrong or bad, nor are they good or right. They're just not believers. And that's fine. It's got nothing to do with me. They don't answer to me. I don't answer to them. They answer to Allah. I'm just, through awareness, sharing my awareness. There is no judgment here. Everything that I share with you, either the awareness that I have of Allah, or the awareness that I have of human beings, or the awareness that I have of how human beings function, it's just awareness. I'm sharing awareness with you. It's an observation. It is a noticing. You see, when you humble yourself, you'll realize that you can become aware, that Allah has created us to become aware, and then you'll start becoming aware. But when you live without awareness, and you're not interested in awareness, when you don't want to see clearly, when you want to hold on to your mind and its stories, interesting stories, interesting ideas, entertaining ideas and interesting stories, hold on to your stories. Those are satanic. Until you can see in a universal way that's got nothing to do with your stories, you will project your stories into the world. You'll think you're thinking about Allah is true, but you're only lying to yourself. You'll think you're thinking about what you're doing is right, is true, but you're only lying to yourself. You'll have all these projections, right? You'll be thinking your thinking is true, and you aren't realizing that your thinking is only interesting stories. They're only interesting stories that you believe are true, but they're not true. And you'll have all these kind of, entertaining ideas that you buy into. That's Satan worship. Other than the truth about Allah, other than the truth about us. You get what I mean? So, those who are every day choosing Allah awareness, and they're becoming more and more aware of Allah, of course they'll worship Allah, of course they'll praise Allah, actually. And of course they'll trust in Allah, of course they'll thank Allah, of course they'll invoke Allah's forgiveness and Allah's forwarding in this world and in the world beyond, and Allah's fulfillment of His potentials and possibilities. Of course we'll do that. But we do it from Allah awareness. We do it from humility. We do it from humility. So in the last episode, in the last lecture, I spoke about humility before Allah. And so people want to live in a trance. So as long as you are living your life and you are identified with the satanic aspect of you, what I call the phantom self, the I that is not humble, the I that is not, aware, the unaware I, the ignorant, superstitious, and arrogant I, you have all these ideas that you know, or you'll believe that somebody else knows. You'll buy into their stories and their ideas, or you'll have your stories and your ideas, but they themselves are not aware and they're not experiencing the peace. So how do we know if somebody is aware of Allah? Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, hearts experience assurance. If somebody is assured, if somebody feels that tranquility that is in the heart of the believer, and that if that tranquility is being expanded, as that faith is expanded in us, then you know the person is a believer. But if somebody is telling you things about Allah, but there's no peace, there's no spiritual well-being, there's no patience, there's no certainty, yaqeen, there's no taqwa, feeling protected, there is no, a state of we've been guided and we already have the guidance, how valuable is that? And we are using this guidance, we are on a path, the path to recognize that Allah is the uniquely valuable, the only actually absolutely valuable. So if you are speaking to somebody who is not aware of Allah, and they are not experiencing peace, they're not experiencing expansion, they're not experiencing connection, they'll be experiencing contraction, they'll be experiencing separation. You see, when you have all these stories that non-believers have, believers don't have stories, they don't have ideas. Believers are aware and they experience. So when I am aware of truth, that's the believing I, that's the real I. Until you are aware of truth, until you are aware that you are a creation of Allah and you've come into existence, you couldn't cause yourself, you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of anybody else. Only Allah, who is ever living, everlasting, ever existing, who always was, is and will always be eternal, the never created, the never produced, but the one who creates and produces, the free of need. Only Allah is actual. And it is because of Him we are, because of Him we continue to be. You get what I mean? If you become Allah aware, you'll become aware that you are physically supported, that you right now are physically okay, that the earth is spinning, the sun rises and sets, it's supporting the trees, produce oxygen through photosynthesis, the sun. There's a moon that allows the centripetal and centrifugal forces around the earth, which keeps the earth in orbit. If you start to realize, if you remember Allah, you will become aware, you'll become consciously aware. See, the conscious and the unconscious are not the same. They are people. And I just call them human minus the being, right? And then there's human plus the being. When I was human minus the being, I'll just say human for short, and when I became a human being aware of Allah, a human being appreciative of Allah, a human being in awe of Allah, a human valuing. You see, when I became a human being humble, I started, you recognize, you start seeing, you start becoming aware and you start seeing. That's why the Quran says, look and see. Look at the signs for those who reflect, for those who contemplate. The Quran is encouraging us to look and see, to become aware. But the people have learnt all their stories, right? They are with their people who have their stories, and they have got the interesting stories, and they got this, entertaining ideas, and they're all aligned to their stories and ideas, and you get all different people aligning to their stories and ideas, falling, schisms and schisms and, sectarianism and cults. People got all these, they're not aware. Human beings can have a universal experience of awareness. I'm aware to the degree that I am, shukr to Allah, and therefore I can tell you what I'm aware of. I can tell you what you can become aware of that you might not be aware of. You might get up in the morning and go through the day clueless as you were the day before, and that heart will be diseased, and that diseased heart will cause problems for you in this world and the world beyond, and soon you will pass on, and you would not pass on submitted. Remember what the Quran says, what Abraham and his children and grandchildren said, do not die except having submitted. Submit. I. There is no I. There is only Allah. And as long as you think, I know, we, us, we, I, our people, there's only Allah. Before me, before you, before us, there's only Allah. And we are His creation in His care. I choose to remind myself every day that my true identity is the identity of, a creation of Allah. That I choose every day to support my spiritual well-being by grounding myself in the truth that what I am is a favored creation of Allah. Who I am is one who is in His care and is taken care of by Him. Who Allah is to me is the benevolent, beneficent, all-powerful intelligence that is compassionate and merciful, that never did anything wrong or bad to me and will never do anything bad or wrong to me. That Allah instead, He gave guidance to humanity when humanity turned away from Him. He continues to give guidance. That Allah champions us and calls us back to Him. That we have nothing to live in fear of. Those to whom guidance has come, they will not live in fear and they will not grieve. They will feel joyous. I feel spiritual joy, you see. But not everybody wants to claim the refuge with Allah. Not everybody wants to purify their hearts. Most people want to remain unconscious and live subconsciously. Most people want to perpetuate their false identity. So what's the false identity? The false identity is who I am is the son of Daud and Amina Moorad. You know what I mean? That's who I am. The clan, which clan, whatever it is. You know, the false identity is I'm a son. The false identity is I'm a father of my son. You know, I'm the brother of so-and-so. You know, and so-and-so. I am a teacher. I am, you know, a South African. I am a man. I am. So, this I am. You know, the I am. What? You get up in the morning and you think I'm the worker, so off I go to work. You get up in the morning and you think I'm a, you know, boss, so off you go to boss people around. You know, I'm a business owner, off you go for your business. You get up in the morning and you are for this world. Oh, I'm a parent, I've got to put my children to school, that's the most important thing. I get up this morning. So if you get up in the morning and you don't remind yourself of who you are, who you really are, what you really are, where you really are, what's going on here, that means you miss out on an opportunity of cleansing your heart. You miss out on an opportunity of purifying your heart. And what that means is you're going to remain in your false identity. You're not going to be a believer. You're not going to really be this humble, valuing human being. Because that's what the humane is. When you don't remember Allah, and you don't feel that assurance in your heart, and your heart is diseased, and you continue to live your life, off you go controlled by the world, off you go trying to control the world. You live controlled by your work. Your work is the center of your life. You are worshipping your work. Things you do for your work is your priority. Or your children, off you go doing things for your children. You know, your children is your priority. Or your husband or wife is your priority. Or your in-laws are your priority. You get what I mean? Whatever it is your priority. Who does your life revolve around? What does your life revolve around? I'm not scolding you. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just one who is aware. I have chosen awareness. I'm choosing to see the truth about Allah, the truth about us, what we're doing here, you know, what happened here, and why we're here. We are here to remember Allah. We are here to become conscious. You can, if you want to, remain unconscious, and Satan will have his grips in you. But if you become conscious of Allah, you start reclaiming yourself, your body, your life. You start becoming aware and you start valuing. You become humane. Woe to those who stand in prayer, the Quran says, and whose hearts lack the smallest of kindnesses. These are people who are the human, but they're not being humble. They're not human being humble. Get what I mean? They're not human beings. They're human ideas, the human ideologies, the human ideas. You see, there are people, when you look at them, they've got all the ideas about God, the human stories, you get it, but they're not human being humble. We can be humble. And when you be humble and you know what you are, I'm a creation of God, I'm a favored creation of God. That not only me, everybody else is. All human beings are favored creation. Before you can say, that's my mother, and you know, I care the most for my mother, you'll say, look, Allah cares most for me and my mother. Before I can care for me and be caring to others and others can care for me, Allah is the one who has caused us and continues us. He has blessed us. Our bodies are supported, sorted and supplied. You know, our personalities are supported, sorted and supplied. Our spirit is supported, sorted and supplied. Inshallah, next week I'll go further and tell you what do I mean by that. But for this week, what I want to share with you is that if you are interested in an identity and controlled by an identity, rather than being interested in your real identity, who you are, who other human beings are, who our Creator is, then you will live in a trance and you will die in a trance. Your heart will be diseased and you will live and bring to God a diseased heart, and that would be a great loss for you. Somebody might ask, why didn't anybody tell us this? Well, I don't think you wanted guidance, that's why people didn't tell you this. I think you are more interested in aligning to other people's stories and you wanted to fit in, and so you learned from the gurus and pandits and you want to be with them because that's what people do. They align with the stories and the identities, that we are this kind of Muslim or we are this kind of religion, whatever it is. Instead of wanting to say what we are is a creation of Allah. There's only Allah. We are His creation. We are in His care. He has caused us. He continues us. He takes care of us, takes care of everything for us. He handles everything for us. We only are because He allows us to be. We have Him. We have Him taking care of us. Our being and our being human and our being given guidance that we can live as spiritually developed human beings. This is a favor from Allah. But those who don't want to humble themselves. I want to believe that I'm a parent, a child, a sibling, a boss, a spouse, a South African, a man, a woman, or whatever. What identity do you? We are what? I am what? You understand? If you have something, I am a Christian, I am a Jew, I am a Hindu, I am a Zen Buddhist, I am a Muslim, whatever. If you have that identity, but you're not really being a Muslim. You get what I mean? All people can be Muslim. What does that mean? They can submit. They can submit. They can open up to a higher version of themselves and live at a higher version. They can live this world as humane beings. They can be humble. But if you think, no, I'm a Muslim, I'm this, that means you're not really realizing what you really are. You don't have to realize what you really are. I'm not trying to force you to realize what you really are. But the moment you realize, my identity is that of a believer, I am a creation of God, so is my mother, so is my son, so is my brother, so is my sister, so is my spouse, so is everybody. We are all the creation of God first. We are His creation in His care. Instead of thinking, I must take care of my parents, or my parents must take care of me, or they should have loved me and I should love them, or I should love my son is the most important thing, my children are the most important. Abraham was tested to see, is his son the most important, or is his relationship with Allah the most important? And he released the attachment he had to his son. He sacrificed the attachment. He remained close to Allah. You understand? And didn't have to sacrifice his son, he just sacrificed the attachment. See, the attachment. People just want to remain attached to family, to other people. They want people to love them. They're angry their parents didn't love them. Their parents can't love you. Only Allah has loved us and He's loving us, and we are the loved creation of Allah. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the daughter who was never loved. My father never cared for me. My mother didn't love me. You get what I mean? Oh, I'm the parent, I'm trying to love my children, I love my children. I love my business, my whole life is about my business and my work. What role are you identified with? What role are you identified with? Because that's the thing that's going to lead to your doom. That's where you think that's what you are. I am a man. I am a South African man. I'm a South African Indian man. I'm a South African Indian Muslim man. I'm a South African Indian Muslim man who lives in Cape Town. I have a career. I have a profession. I'm a graduate. All that means nothing about me and you. We are all equal in the sight of God. We are all equally favored. We are all equally blessed. We are all equally loved. Allah has kept nothing away from us. Humanity has been given favors, but most of humanity is ungrateful. Because most of humanity want to remain in a trance of denying Allah, denying that we are His creation in His care, denying the greatness of Allah, His giving nature, His unconditional gifting nature. We don't want to see it. And you worship Satan, you don't want to see Allah, and you don't want to see Allah's compassion and mercy and His love. You don't want to see Him. You want to take care of people, you want people to take care of you, you want to take care of your business. The things of this world become priority. And I'm not saying they're not important for you to be caring to your parents and caring to your children, but I'm saying you do it from being a believer. You be a believing son. You can be, you don't have to be. You can be a believing son, you can be a believing father, you can be a believing teacher, you can be a believing human being, you can be a human being who's experiencing spiritual well-being because you know what you are, where you are, what's going on here. You know what your priority is, you know what the guidance is, you're using the guidance and you're moving forward. See? I'm a believer. That's why you see me smiling. The Prophet ﷺ used to smile. It was his sunnah. A lot of people say the beard is the sunnah, like that's the only sunnah. There was a smile because he was humane. His behavior was humane. How many people say they follow the sunnah but there's nothing humane about them? They're human, not being humble. So when you choose, A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim, you will go beyond all the identities that disturb you. As a parent, I'm scared for my children. As a spouse, I'm scared for my relationship. Whatever. My wife should be like this. My father is not being like that. The world like this, like that. But when you focus on Allah first, it's unconditional. You focus on the creator of the world, not the world. When you're not Allah aware, you are locked into the world in your identities. You're taken, you're lost. You understand? This is the situation. That either you will get up in the morning and go through the day lost in your identities, controlled by the world, trying to control the world, thinking you can take care of yourself, thinking you can take care of others, thinking others can take care of you, denying that we are all the creation of Allah, loved by Allah. That before my mother is my mother, she's a creation of Allah. Before I'm her son, I'm a creation of Allah. Before my son is my son, he's a creation of Allah. All human beings are favored. All human beings are favored, creation of Allah. Now, I didn't know that about me. And I didn't know that about everybody in my life. I wasn't living like this at this higher perspective as a believer, experiencing connection, humility, and valuing. I wasn't experiencing it. Now I am. And I choose to experience it more and more. You get what I mean? And now I can see other people are not experiencing it. And I support those who want to experience it, experience it. Those who are willing to submit their phantom identity, this thinking of I'm the mother, I'm the son, I'm the father, I'm the business owner, I'm the South African, I'm the man, I'm the woman, I'm the boss, I'm the whatever, I'm the victim. Whatever that I is, it's a lie. What you are is a favored creation of your Creator. That's what you are. You have every reason to rejoice. So I remember Allah and I feel assured, whether other people remember Allah and feel assured or not. I know that I'm okay, that we are the favored creation of Allah. I know that everybody is okay, because everybody is the favored creation of Allah. Before I didn't know I was okay and everybody was okay. I wasn't at peace. But now I know Allah has favored all human beings. All human beings are favored. And He has given guidance to all human beings. And we don't have to judge ourselves and judge each other. That's the second humility. We can realize we don't know and we can learn. We don't have to live thinking we're perfect and everybody is perfect, or we should be perfect and other people should be perfect. We can be humble before our Creator and say there's learning, growth and development. What is it that I don't know that I can come to know? How can I behave in this world? We can recognize we sin without shaming ourselves, blaming ourselves, without judgment and guilt. We can recognize other people's sin without blaming them, shaming them, without judgment and guilt. We can recognize that we sin, other people sin, and Allah is merciful and compassionate and He's called us back. That right here, right now, Allah's mercy is upon us. This is why I rejoice. The Quran says, let them in the mercy of Allah rejoice. You see, but people who are lost, they don't know about Allah. They're living unconsciously. They're just following a religion, and their hearts are diseased, and they're not drawing closer to Allah. They're not in the peace. They're not in the well-being. They'll be more interested in what's happening and judging it. This is wrong. This is right. Looking at people and being self-righteous. They shouldn't be like that. They should be like that. When you are humble before Allah, you will experience security. And when you are humble before yourself and others, realizing we are in error, we've got a lot of learning, growth and development to do, and that's okay. Then you stop being self-righteous and judging others. Stop judging yourself. You humble yourself and you realize, I've got work to do. Let me get on with this work. Let me use this day not only to draw closer to Allah, but to improve my character, to actually be like the Prophet. Let me use this day to develop myself as a human being. You have the opportunity every day to become aware of Allah and use the power of Allah for your benefit. You have that opportunity every day to invoke, to be thankful to Allah after submitting and praising Allah, putting your trust in Allah, thanking Allah. You can invoke His forgiveness, His forwarding and His fulfillment, His protection, His progressing and His prospering. I do that every day. And every day you have the opportunity not only to recognize Allah is blessing you and benefiting you, but for you to be a blessing and benefiting to yourself. Respect yourself, your body, your life. You can function in a more caring for yourself way every day. That's why I get up in the morning and I say, this is the day for me to recognize Allah's caring and receive it more. This is to acknowledge the caring that is there and to receive it. Caring, full capitals, full capital letters. And Allah has given me an opportunity to be caring to me, my body, my life, my future life, my afterlife. I choose to do that this day. I choose to live with Iman and Amal. And I choose this day to give caring to others and receive caring from the people that are caring for me. Because Satan doesn't want you to experience the caring of Allah and to use His further caring for your benefit. Satan doesn't want you to benefit you, your body and your life. Satan doesn't want you to benefit your future life and your afterlife. Satan doesn't want you to act in a way that you can act for your good and other people's good. Satan doesn't want you to receive Allah's good in this world and the world beyond. Satan is keeping you not only from peace, but from progress and prosperity. And by you, well, let me say it properly, right? Because I'm aware. I should speak like I'm aware because I'm aware. Satan has no power to do anything to you. Satan only suggests to you, don't be in the peace, don't be in the power, don't be in the prosperity. And thus then he'll keep you from, don't be in the paradise. See? So Satan is a suggester. He suggests. He has no power. But it's those of us who are not inclining towards Allah and Allah awareness that buy into the BS, the belief systems, the stories. Satan's whisperings. The more you become aware of Allah, the more aware you become aware of Allah. And Satan can't put his grips on you. He can't get his claws into you. The more aware of Allah you become, the more you humble yourself, the more you value. You become a humane being. You become humane with Allah. You become humane with you, your body, your life, with other people. You become humane. That heart, no longer are you just standing in prayer, but there's kindness in that heart. You know what I mean? So, shukr to Allah who has guided me to the path of human excellence, the straight path, the path where things get better and better, where we're receiving more of His caring, we're being more caring to ourselves, we're being more caring to others, receiving others' carings. We're not trying to take care of ourselves, not trying to take care of others, not trying to get others to take care of us. We know that we are all cared for by Allah, and His caring is available to us all. And we feel happy that everybody, my mother, my son, everybody has the caring of Allah, and we can all connect with Him. And we can be caring to our parents and children without trying to take care of them, without trying to be their Allah. Or we can turn to our parents and receive their caring without thinking they are our Allah. So shukr to Allah who has guided me. Imagine where I'd have been if I had all those millions but no guidance. So I am a Godzillionaire. Inshallah I'll also be a millionaire too. But what's really the most important thing is being a Godzillionaire. After that, other things are important too, but not more important than being a Godzillionaire. Shukr to Allah. All praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty. His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.